on the old price because, you know, everyone else is banging out videos about price, so why can't I? I got half a clue about what's going on, kind of. So let's just do it from the top down, shall we? So monthly, there you go, finally. Monthly. Now I'm looking on the Bitfinex price chart, so we'll see how this plays out. But monthly, you can see we are currently down in a potential sort of demand zone. This is the origin of the original move, which you can see we have sort of come down and touched on the monthly with that wick there. We've sort of come back down into here. So, you know, every possibility it could go up from this area. On the week, again, it becomes a bit more clearer that we've had a couple of things. So back in the day, we've had a break of this bearish engulfing setup here. So that's 2 weeks. And, you know, price did punch through this engulfing setup. So when this happens, we're looking for price to pull back into the origin of the move, which you could say was here and here. Obviously, price has been pushing lower and lower, so the true origin, you could say, is right at this bottom demand zone here. So if we just go from the wick to wick, because the candles are quite wicky at the moment. So, you know, I would say this is a great place to be for looking for buys. Certainly the lowest risk place to be buying in the last 2 years. So, you know, that's what we got on the weekly. On the daily, this is where we start to really see what's been going on over the last couple of weeks. So quite clearly price has been going down. However, you've got a couple of ranges really. So, you know, it might look up and down, but realistically it's been moving sideways. So we've got the top of the range, you could say we've got potentially around here, just looking at this sort of zone. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's just go down to the top of this wick. So realistically, I would say the sort of 31.5 cents is the top of the range, and then we've got what, 20, 25 as the bottom. So, you know, it's sort of bouncing around. Now we've got a secondary range here. So let's just let's just bring that back. Let's just hide it. That'll be easier. So now let's just go on the daily. So now we've got this secondary range that we're bouncing between. We've got the top here. Now we'll just get this here. So we've got the top of this sort of zone from this candle here. And then right down the bottom there. So at the moment, we could argue, looking at what I'm looking at, that you've got another zone just here. So we'll go down to the 4 hour and the 1 hour, see what we've got. So 4 hour, again, let's just try and make this as clear as we possibly can. So 4 hour, again, as you can see, just sort of sideways, and we've been bouncing around inside this sort of area here. So you've got the top of this range, secondary range there, but right at the bottom, you can see where price has pulled back into this zone and then has moved up. So there is a good chance that price could come back down before going back up, and we could just be bouncing around. Now, what has happened here, we had a break of this bearish engulfing setup here. So as you can see, this candle, price punched through, came back to the origin of the move, tested the zone, and then from there it's moved out. So on the 1 hour, let's just drill down again. And where has price been pulling back into? So again, you can see every time price has come back into this sort of zone here, it's moved out and pushed away. Potentially, depending, obviously you can quite see it's gone down. What I'd want to see, just for a small initial move up, obviously we could continue all the way back down to sort of these lows here. But what I want to see, which would give me a bit more of a temporarily bullish outlook, is a break of this bearish candle here, and then for price to pull back. So we could see price pull back into sort of this area here, potentially, if we see price go up, clear this zone, and then come back down. But who knows? I don't know. I'm just speculating because that's all we can do. No one actually knows. We're just summarising. But again, you can see it's interesting. But ultimately, as we've seen on the daily, this is pretty much the one of the lowest risks areas to be buying in the last 2 years. Now, will it drop lower? I don't know. Can it drop lower? Of course it can. It's you know, looking at what sort of zones that sort of not really being retested again. I mean, the one that is sticking out really is this sort of area here, which does put you in the sort of 20 to 19 cents area. As you can see, it's touched it a couple of times before going. And, you know, we have seen price push all the way down. That's where the bottom of the wick is, right here. So there's not, well, there's a fresh area here, which would put us at 17 cents, potentially. But apart from that, it's anybody's guess. Anybody's guess. Who knows? You know, for what we need to see realistically, is we would realistically need to see a nice clean break sort of above this level here. You can see we tried back in June, but we didn't quite. And again, this is sort of the 50 cents level. So I'd like to see price really break this level. We've got another bearish candle here that if price could break that, that would show fantastic potential for upside. So we'll leave it at that, short and sweet. Again, I don't claim to know everything. You know, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, well, then I'll go, look, I told you it was right, and I knew all along because I whacked it on YouTube. But, you know, ultimately, buy what you can, when you can, don't over-leverage yourself, and basically disregard a lot of the crap that's going on Twitter. It's just not worth the fucking hassle. And it's the best thing I did was leave Twitter because I don't have to wade through the posts and posts and posts of utter tripe. Anyway, enjoy your evening, enjoy this video, tidy.